At the age of 67, when most of his contemporaries have chosen to step back behind the curtain, Marty Stuart is still walking out onto the stage. People see in him the image of a living legend, an unyielding symbol untouched by time. But behind that dazzling halo of glory lie shadows no one ever expected. It is the price of a childhood forced to grow up at the age of 13, the heart-piercing pain of being dropped by record labels and cast aside like someone whose time had already passed. And just recently, he has faced a shock large enough to bring everything to a halt. So what tragedy is truly hidden behind Marty Stuart's smile? And what is it that has driven this artist to refuse himself even a single moment of rest? Some people are born to grow up, grow old, and accept life as a calm, gentle river. But there are others who, from the moment they let out their first cry, carry within them a fire that cannot be extinguished. Marty Stuart is one of those people. Born on the 30th of September 1958, Marty grew up in Philadelphia, Mississippi, a small town nestled among the red clay hills of the American South, where time seems to slow down and the air is always thick with two lingering presences, the salvation of faith and the sorrow of country music. In that modest home, Marty's life was woven from contrasting threads. His mother, a Bible teacher, brought discipline and moral order. His father, a railroad worker with calloused hands, carried the soul of a wandering artist, pouring his unfinished dreams into the sound of a mandolin every evening at sunset. Marty grew up between those two currents. Sunday mornings echoed with church hymns, pure, clear, and sacred. But on weekend nights, as darkness fell, the sound that crept into the boy's mind was the raw, urgent guitar pouring out of an old AM radio. By the age of 5, while other children were still chasing balls across grassy fields or playing hide-and-seek behind ancient oak trees, Marty had chosen a corner of his own. He secretly took his father's guitar, an instrument bigger than his small body, and began to pluck the strings. No one taught him finger placement, no classroom explained rhythm or tempo. Marty learned from Hank Williams, from Flatt and Scruggs, and from the instinctive vibrations growing inside his chest. That boy did not listen to music for entertainment. He listened as if he were absorbing every note into his very being. While friends memorized lyrics for fun, Marty sat for hours in the dark, studying how Johnny Cash could emphasize a single word to create pain, or how Bill Monroe could make a mandolin cry. His grandmother was the first to recognize it. One quiet afternoon, she looked deep into her young grandson's eyes and said a single sentence like a prophecy carved into his fate. "You are an artist. Don't let anyone steal that from you." Those words, along with the first time she took him to see Connie Smith perform at a music festival when he was 12, changed Marty forever. The moment the stage lights hit Connie Smith, Marty understood that he did not belong in the audience. He belonged where the light was. But in a conservative rural town in the 1970s, being different was a kind of crime. Marty began growing his hair long, dressing in black, and speaking about country music as if it were a sacred religion. Suspicious glances soon followed. Friends drifted away. Teachers could only shake their heads. Neighbors whispered about the Stuart family's troubled son. What they did not know was that this child was preparing for a great escape. In 1972, something unthinkable happened. Roland White, a member of the band led by bluegrass legend Lester Flatt, noticed Marty's talent during a gospel performance. An invitation was extended, an invitation thousands of grown musicians could only dream of, to go to Delaware and perform with Lester Flatt. That year, Marty Stuart was only 13 years old. While other children were still struggling with homework and their first emotional awakenings, Marty packed a small suitcase, held his mandolin close, and climbed onto a touring bus, leaving his family, leaving his childhood, without looking back. It was a painful separation that Marty would later call a small tragedy of his life. He left behind the familiar home, his parents, his younger sister Jennifer, and a childhood that had not yet ripened to step into a world meant for grown men. On that bus, heavy with the smell of cigarettes and engine oil, No one treated Marty as a child in need of comfort. The professional world had no room for weakness. Lester Flatt, the bluegrass legend, Marty's teacher and second spiritual father, did not need a polite, obedient boy. He needed a musician who could keep time. Is he playing in time? Does he blend into the soul of the song? Those were the only questions that mattered. And Marty answered with his playing not merely playing correctly, but playing as if it were the only way he could breathe. Marty's teenage years did not unfold in high school classrooms. They played out in smoke-filled bars, noisy fairground stages, and endless overnight drives along American highways. He learned how to doze off on bus seats, how to snap awake under stage lights, and how to face the crushing loneliness of a solitary traveler. There were nights when the applause had faded, when Marty sat alone in a hotel room corner, staring at an unfamiliar sky and wondering about the price of this dream. But he never once thought of turning back. As he would later say, "If I can hold on to what is true, music will never abandon me." In 1978, Lester Flatt was forced to retire as his health declined, and not long after, he passed away, leaving Marty without the greatest anchor of his life, adrift in a musical world that was changing by the day. But fate, once again, smiled in its harshest way when Marty joined Johnny Cash's band. From Lester Flatt's raw, rustic bluegrass world, Marty stepped into the rugged, shadowed, firelit universe of the Man in Black. It was a dangerous leap. Johnny Cash was already a towering monument, a shadow capable of swallowing anyone standing beside him. Yet Marty, the young man with long hair and ornate jackets, was not eclipsed. He stood next to Johnny Cash not as a background figure, but as a true collaborator. Over 6 years together, Marty learned from Cash not only performance techniques, but how to transform pain into art. He learned to tell stories through silence, to stare directly into his own darkness and pull it into the light as melody. Those years forged Marty Stuart from a mandolin prodigy into an artist of real depth. He was no longer a boy imitating his heroes. He had become a part of history. By the late 1980s, Marty Stuart stood at a crossroads of fate. After years spent in the shadows of giants like Doc Watson and Johnny Cash, excelling as a masterful supporting musician with his piercing mandolin sound, Marty understood that the time had come to step forward. It was not driven by ambition. It was driven by fear. The fear that if he continued standing beneath such an enormous shadow, his own artistic identity would slowly fade away. In 1985, his first solo album, Busy Bee Cafe, was released not as a product carefully engineered to climb the charts, but as a plain-spoken confession, where traditional bluegrass blended with the hard-earned experience of someone who had been forced to grow up at the age of 13. It was Marty's first and clearest declaration: I am not the shadow of any legend. I am myself. But the music industry does not pay for declarations. It pays for hits. Busy Bee Cafe failed commercially, and as his career began to stall, the cracks in his personal life gradually surfaced. Marty's marriage to Cindy Cash, the daughter of Johnny Cash, was once seen as a dream union between two country music bloodlines. Yet behind that picture of perfection lay the crushing pressure of fame, the overwhelming shadow of a legendary father-in-law, and the instability of youth that had never been given time to settle. By 1988, they quietly went their separate ways, leaving behind a harsh truth. Music, no matter how sincere, cannot always mend the fractures of real life. It was a double tragedy. Marty did not only lose a wife, he also lost his familial bond with the illustrious Cash lineage, which had once been both a home and a school to him. At the same time, Columbia Records turned its back. His second album, Let There Be Country, was shelved and never released, dismissed for low sales potential. Marty Stuart, once hailed as a prodigy, suddenly found himself with nothing. He packed his belongings, left the glittering promise of Nashville, and returned to Mississippi. Those were the darkest days. Marty went back to playing with the Sullivans, the gospel band from his youth. People saw a man who had traveled a full circle of fame, now standing once again at the starting line. Yet it was precisely in the silence of failure, in the pain of a broken family, that the fire inside Marty did not go out, it merely smoldered. He came to understand something essential. To be reborn, sometimes one must accept dying once in an old form. In 1989, Marty Stuart returned to Nashville. This time, he was no longer the shy, long-haired boy standing beside Johnny Cash. He signed with MCA Records and released Hillbilly Rock. The impact shook Nashville to its core. At a time when country music was dominated by polished young men singing smooth, radio-friendly love songs, Marty emerged as a rebel. Slicked back rockabilly hair, flamboyant rhinestone suits straight out of the 1950s, and a sound that fused honky-tonk, bluegrass, and rock and roll. Instead of chasing trends, he chose to resurrect the past, bringing back the image of dust-covered cowboys with a new energy, fiercer, more seductive, and unapologetically raw. The 1990s became Marty's golden era. Hit after hit followed, Tempted, Little Things, Burn Me Down. Hillbilly Rock broke into the top 10, and the album earned gold certification. Marty Stuart did not explode onto the scene like fireworks. He advanced steadily like a tank, crushing long-held assumptions about what country music was supposed to sound like. But the true peak of that rebellion arrived only when he found his destined partner, Travis Tritt. In a landscape crowded with formulaic hat acts, Marty and Travis stood apart as outsiders. Together, they launched what became known as the No Hats Tour. A tour not merely about performing, but about asserting individuality. They refused to be labeled. Their duet, The Whiskey Ain't Workin', 1991, not only earned them a prestigious Grammy Award, but also became an anthem for the lonely for men who sought escape in alcohol, only to realize that the pain remained unchanged. The blend of Travis's gritty, unmistakable voice and Marty's masterful musicianship created a form of music that was masculine, stripped bare, and heavy with emotional weight. By 1992, their joint album, This One's Gonna Hurt You, emerged as one of the defining works of the decade. Marty Stuart proved something that seemed almost paradoxical. He could stand at the very center of the mainstream, earn gold certification, and yet never dull a single edge of who he truly was. It was more than art, it was culture. A culture that honored authenticity above all else. That same turbulent year of 1992 brought Marty the key every country artist dreams of. He was officially inducted into the Grand Ole Opry. Stepping into this sacred temple was not merely a title. It was history's final recognition of the child who had left home at 13. He stood there no longer as an outsider, but as living flesh and blood within the legacy of American music. The years that followed were marked by Marty Stuart's continued role as a steadfast keeper of the flame. In 1993, he earned yet another Grammy Award. Although his 1994 album, Love and Luck, failed to spark the same ticket-selling frenzy as before, with only one single reaching the top 40, it became a necessary pause, a moment to breathe amid the relentless machinery of fame. Then, in 1996, with Honky Tonkin's What I Do Best, Marty was once again honored by the Country Music Association. Throughout this period, Marty Stuart was more than an entertainment star. He was like a drifter standing at the crossroads of tradition and modernity, proudly declaring that as long as he held a guitar, the soul of honky-tonk would never die. He had lived through years of hiding in the shadows of others, only to become a towering shadow himself, one that now sheltered old values in a world changing far too fast. And amid those loud, glorious years, fate offered Marty a gentle gift, a quiet harbor, a place of peace where his perpetually unsteady artist's soul could finally drop anchor. On the 8th of July, 1997, he married Connie Smith. This love story unfolded like a slow-motion film stretched across nearly 3 decades. In 1970, when Marty was only a 12-year-old boy, he saw Connie on stage and whispered to his mother, "One day, I'm going to marry her." No one believed the words of a child. But Marty carried that promise quietly in his heart through years of turbulence, through broken relationships, through moments of glory and bitterness alike. Nearly 25 years after that fateful night, they met again. Not in a cliched romantic setting, but in the seriousness of work. Marty was invited to collaborate on producing and writing music for Connie's comeback album. In the confined space of the recording studio, amid melodies and lyrics, the distance between idol and admirer gradually dissolved. They discovered a harmony between two souls who had endured enough collisions with life to truly understand the value of sincerity. Affection took root naturally, like grass after rain, quiet, unassuming, yet deeply anchored. But when news of their wedding spread, the outside world responded with no small measure of skepticism. The 17-year age gap became fodder for doubters. Some dismissed it as the impulsiveness of a star-chasing novelty, others as a mismatched relationship unlikely to survive the pressures of show business. Public opinion fixated on numbers, failing to see the wounds inside two people yearning for healing. Marty and Connie ignored it all. For them, love required no approval from the crowd. After they built a life together, Connie Smith was far more than a devoted wife or a legendary voice walking beside Marty. She became the anchor of his life. Connie brought him what he had lacked throughout a turbulent youth: faith and stability. With God at the center, their marriage helped Marty find perfect balance. She turned their home into a peaceful sanctuary, where a wandering artist could wash away the dust of the road and rediscover himself. The promise of that 12-year-old boy finally came true, not as a conquest, but as proof that when one dares to believe in destiny and safeguards it with sincerity, even time and age become meaningless numbers before true love. Yet the tragedy of a genuine artist is that they are never satisfied with safety. Having attained fame, wealth, and love, Marty Stuart chose to make the most daring leap of his career. In 1999, he released The Pilgrim. This was not a collection of catchy songs. It was a concept album built around a painfully real story from his hometown of Philadelphia, Mississippi, a man who took his own life over unrequited love. Marty poured all of his devotion, skill, and emotion into The Pilgrim. He invited legends such as Johnny Cash, George Jones, and Emmylou Harris to lend their voices. He wanted to create a true work of art, a country opera, layered with depth and philosophy, exploring love, sin, and redemption. But Nashville in the late 1990s no longer had room for tragic stories. The market demanded cheerful, easy-listening melodies. The Pilgrim failed catastrophically in commercial terms. Radio stations refused to play it. The mainstream audience turned away, finding it too heavy, too complex. To them, it was a step backward. To Marty, it was the most honest work he had ever written. The commercial failure of The Pilgrim led to a painful but inevitable outcome. In 2000, Marty Stuart left MCA Records, officially stepping out of the industrial machinery that had bound him for years. This time, however, he did not stand at the edge of an abyss, as someone cast aside, but as a traveler who understood that he had completed the story he needed to tell. As the new millennium arrived, bringing the clamor of the digital age and factory-produced pop stars, the music world grew increasingly alien to Marty. Doors once rolled out, red carpets for the golden boy of country music now closed quietly. There were no promotional campaigns, no institutional backing, only a cold emptiness. The feeling of standing outside the very industry to which he had devoted his youth since the age of 13. For most artists, this would have been the moment to surrender, or to accept becoming a living museum replaying old hits for nostalgic income. But Marty Stuart was not made of such fragile material. To him, when the big stage lights went dark, that was when the inner flame was finally allowed to burn in its truest form. He did not need Nashville to define who he was. He defined himself. In 2002, from the ashes of his commercial career, Marty Stuart staged a remarkable rebirth. He did not seek elite session musicians to fill gaps. He sought brothers, men who shared the same wild heartbeat for music. And thus, Marty Stuart and his fabulous Superlatives were born. With Harry Stinson, Kenny Vaughan, and later Chris Scruggs, Marty assembled a lineup that critics would hail as the best live band in America. On stage, they did not exist to fade into the background. They emerged like a noble gang, dressed in shimmering hand-embroidered suits, hair slicked back with pride, and a nearly sacred reverence for every note they played. The fabulous Superlatives did not merely perform music. They defended the dignity of country music itself, turning every show into an uncompromising confrontation with mediocrity where supreme technique fused with raw, honest emotion. Freed from the pressure to manufacture soulless radio hits, Marty Stuart embarked on the journey of a pilgrim searching for his roots. In 2005, he founded his own label, Superlatives Records, to gain the freedom to tell the stories he chose. And the first story he told was not about romantic love, but about the suffering of a forgotten people. The album Badlands, Ballads of the Lakota, emerged as a haunting tribute to Sioux Native American culture. Marty spent years living among, listening to, and empathizing with the people of the Pine Ridge Reservation. The music on Badlands was not meant for entertainment. It was the wind howling across barren plains, the echo of buffalo hide drums from the past, and a prayer for lost souls. It was here that Marty Stuart crossed the boundary of being merely a singer to become a cultural chronicler, a historian writing with melody. That same year, 2005, Marty made a gesture of grace that moved all of Nashville. He returned to take the hand of an old hero, Porter Wagoner, by then frail and largely forgotten, to produce his final album. This was not merely the work of a producer, but an act of filial devotion from a son to a spiritual father. Marty helped a legend sing proudly one last time before the curtain fell forever, reminding the world that giants may age, but they must never be forgotten. Marty's mission as a keeper of the flame became even clearer in 2008 when he launched The Marty Stuart Show. In an era dominated by reality television and noisy singing competitions, Marty's program felt like a time machine. He brought back the atmosphere of the 1960s, where artists gathered around a microphone, sang live, and played from the heart. He invited fading legends and emerging talents to share the same stage, forging a bridge across generations. For 14 years on the air, Marty was not just a host, he was a gatekeeper, patiently polishing each precious gem of country music so it could continue to shine. And then, as the artist devoted himself tirelessly without chasing fame, fame found its way back to him more respectful and admiring than ever. In 2011, the Grammy Awards called his name for Hummingbird, an instrumental tribute to guitar legend Clarence White. It was recognition of a talent never eroded by time. Yet perhaps the sweetest honor was not the Golden Gramophone, but the shared nomination with Connie Smith, his wife, his partner, and the idol of his youth. On the stage of life, they had written the most beautiful love song together. The world began to see Marty Stuart not merely as a singer, but as a living cultural icon. In 2017, the Americana Music Honors and Awards named his band Group of the Year, affirming the timeless appeal of men in embroidered suits. In 2018, he co-curated an exhibition at the Woody Guthrie Center, showcasing a vast collection of over 20,000 country music artifacts he had quietly gathered over a lifetime. From Johnny Cash's boots to Hank Williams's handwritten manuscripts, Marty preserved fragments of history like sacred relics, knowing that if he did not protect them, they would vanish into oblivion. The summit of this long journey arrived in 2020. A turbulent year for humanity, yet the most complete year for the boy Marty once was, when he was officially inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. As the medal was placed around his neck, Marty Stuart stood there, hair silvered by wind and years, but eyes still blazing with the fire of a 13-year-old. The circle of fate closed perfectly. From a child who left home at 13 to follow Lester Flatt, sleeping on buses, tasting glory and bitterness, being fired and forgotten, he now stepped with dignity into the Temple of Legends. He did not enter through record-breaking sales or loud scandals, but through perseverance, through unwavering loyalty to the musical roots he revered. And yet, for Marty Stuart, the Country Music Hall of Fame was never a place to rest, only a milestone along a journey that is still unfolding. In 2022, at an age when many people choose to slow down and enjoy a quiet, settled life, Marty Stuart instead signed a new contract with Snake Farm Records and packed his suitcase to tour Europe. He still walks onto the stage, still cradles his old Fender Telecaster named Clarence, and still sings as if every performance were his last. For Marty, music has never been a career with an endpoint. It is breath itself, a current of blood flowing quietly yet relentlessly through his veins. Today, at 67, while most of his peers have chosen to retreat behind the curtain and savor a life of ease, Marty Stuart refuses to stop. He lives in Hendersonville, Tennessee, in a home steeped in history, alongside his wife and destined love, Connie Smith. Their life together is not loud or flashy like that of younger show business couples. It is calm and enduring, like a love song carefully written over many years where two legends, after weathering life's storms, find refuge in one another. But peace does not mean rest. For Marty, as long as his heart continues to beat, the tour buses must keep rolling. He still goes on the road, not because of financial pressure, and certainly not to cling to fading glory. He goes because the road is where he belongs. He goes because out there, audiences still long to hear the piercing sound of a mandolin and to see that silver-weathered hair sway to the rhythm of honky-tonk. The stage is no longer a place of performance for him. It is a place of communion, where kindred spirits meet. Yet, even the strongest old oaks must sometimes bow to nature's harshness. Recently, an unexpected accident forced Marty Stuart's tireless journey to pause for a moment when he was injured after slipping on ice. The announcement postponing shows in Dallas and Houston was more than a simple scheduling change. It was a pause heavy with regret. For someone who has spent nearly his entire life on tour buses, being forced to lie still and recover while audiences wait is no small psychological challenge. Hands that once shaped the sound of an entire generation now need time to heal themselves. On Instagram, Marty shared the news with a tone that was both humorous and bittersweet. There are slow hands, lucky hands, winning hands, invisible hands, hard-working hands, and then I slip on ice and seriously injure myself with a sprained wrist and a small fracture. Good job, Marty, he added. The worst part is that right now I can't play guitar or mandolin. Please forgive the canceled shows and the inconvenience. The Superlatives and I will be back as soon as we can. In the meantime, everyone please stay safe. And as the stage lights dim, people see another Marty Stuart, not holding an instrument, but quietly holding on to hope, believing that music will wait for him to return, just as it always has throughout his life. For many years now, he has quietly become a patron to the artist community through the Late Night Jam. Every CMA Music Festival season, when Nashville drifts to sleep after the glitz of headline performances, Marty lights another kind of fire. He gathers friends, legends, and newcomers alike to play deep into the night, raising funds for Music Cares. He understands better than anyone the cost of this profession. He knows that behind the shimmer of fame are artists struggling daily with illness, financial hardship, and the loneliness that comes with aging. To Marty, Music Cares is not just charity, it is brotherhood. It is his way of reaching down to lift fellow musicians out of the mud just as Lester Flatt and Johnny Cash once protected a 13-year-old boy long ago. Yet the greatest legacy Marty Stuart is carefully building lies where he began: Philadelphia, Mississippi. The boy who once left home has now returned not only with glory, but with a grand dream called the Congress of Country Music. Together with Connie Smith, Marty is pouring his heart into building a cultural and educational center on his native soil. He does not want it to be a cold museum displaying priceless artifacts he has collected. He wants it to be a school, a living sanctuary. There, poor children of the American South, children like Marty once was, will be able to touch history, learn to play their first notes, and ignite the belief that music can change a destiny. Marty is not building this to immortalize his own name. He is building it to repay a debt of gratitude to the land that nurtured his soul, and to ensure that the flame of authentic country music is passed on intact to future generations. The life of Marty Stuart, from a wandering prodigy to a cultural icon, is the clearest proof that a great artist is not measured by how loud the applause is, but by how many lives they touch and uplift. He still stands there, silver hair shimmering under the lights, both a witness to history and a sower of the future, steadfast and proud like an old oak in the heart of America. Looking back on Marty Stuart's life, one does not see a path strewn with roses, but the journey of a man who chose to move slowly, to walk against the current, and to go all the way with what he believed was right. He was not always at the center of the spotlight, but he never once strayed from the heart of music. And perhaps in a world that is always rushing to chase trends, it is precisely that quiet perseverance that deserves the greatest respect. Thank you, Marty Stuart, for preserving for us a piece of the soul of country music. If this story touched you, please leave a comment to share your feelings. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can continue listening together to the lives of those who lived fully, loved deeply, and never gave up.